Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another round of GPVWC Sim Racing. My name is Matthew Chirgwin. Joining me on commentary for round 8, the final round of the inaugural GPVWC Atlantic Series is Mr. Thomas Jacobs. Say good evening, sir.
Hello, everyone.
And joining us on cameras, very kindly, is Mr. Joshua Anderson. So say hello, Josh.
Hello.
And yes, it is, sadly, after 7 rounds of taking in some of America's finest road and oval race courses, we find ourselves here at the very final round of the first Atlantic Series here at the GPVWC, and we find ourselves here in Austin, Texas, so the Americas. And it is this track which features a little bit of everything. It features a very fast and flowing Sector 1, a second sector dominated by a 1 kilometre long back straight, and a slow and technical third sector, which will decide our champions in constructors and teams this evening. Lars Brugman and Ruud Heasterbeek have been our drivers' protagonists, and only those two drivers are in with a chance of winning the Drivers' Championship. We have a much tastier fight going on for the constructors, though, between 4 teams, those being Scuderia Basilia, Walk Racing, Drag Racing and Team Proline. It's all very nicely set up, Tom, for a grandstand of a finish. What a track to have it at.
Indeed, it is going to be quite an amazing track, because as you're saying, it's the final round, so it's going to be a do or die, so to speak, for some people such as Lars Brugman and Ruud Heasterbeek, you mentioned earlier, who are fighting for the Drivers' Championship. But
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that the track is quite difficult, and I would like to say technical, if that's the correct term to use, since it's a lot of corners kind of backed onto each other, so you just get the car straightened up and you're into another corner, and it's going to be quite hectic on tyre wear. So it'll be interesting to see how people manage with keeping on track and keeping their car going in a what's the word I'm looking for? Competitive and consistent state.
Absolutely, and these championships, they're all about consistency, and our protagonists of both the teams and the drivers have been there all the way through. We'll get to talking through some of those a little bit later, but you join us here in qualifying. We are currently in our free-for-all. We have 15 minutes here for all drivers to go around this 5.5 kilometre race circuit and try and set their best times, and after a brief intermission, we'll then have our fastest 6 drivers out to try and improve on their times even further. Our current top 6 at this point in time is Lars Brugman. He's currently on pole with 42.4. It's the fastest time we've seen in the run-up to this event. He's then followed by the TSA driver, Scott Berrison, cracking 1 minute 43.1. That's his best time so far. Risto Capit is currently P3 with Porsche Milan in P4. Then we have Ruud Heasterbeek, the second walk car, in P5, and he is followed and rounding out the top 6 by Lewis Leglade, driving for Team Proline this evening. So we've got, as Rita Gardner for Hinds Motorsport has just popped up into P6 as I was finishing that sentence there, so good time there for Reese. So all of our main drivers, all of our main teams are up and around that fast 6, Tom. So clearly everyone getting to grips with this very tricky circuit with a little bit of everything. You've got a very fast Sector 1, a very slippery Sector 2, and a very technical, you're absolutely correct with that summation, very technical third sector with an inverse turn 8 from Istanbul. It's got a little bit of everything, this track.
Indeed, isn't it a Hillman Tilke track?
It is, yes.
Yes, and I think he took inspiration from a lot of other tracks. Like you got the downhill sort of left-hand braking corner from Bahrain, if you know what I'm on about. I can't remember what corner it is. Then you've got the inverse turn 8 from Istanbul, as you mentioned earlier before we went live, and it's kind of got a bit of essence of Maggots and Beckett's in the first and second sector as well. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting race with, as I mentioned before, tyre wear. You're leaning a lot on the left and the right hand side, more so on the left, I'd say, even though it's a is it a counterclockwise track? I think it is. Yes.
It is indeed.
So
yeah, we will call it, I'm sure, repeatedly, inverse turn 8. It's actually the official corner designations is 17 and 18, but a very long right-hander, and a number of the cars I've seen in practice have really been lighting up that front left tyre. So tyre wear may be a factor this evening. We'll wait and see. Our time has elapsed, though. Our first 15 minutes of qualifying. Drivers now just finishing their final laps. Rita Gardner has been pushed out of the top 6 by Pedro Gomez. He's down to P7. he cannot improve, I believe. I believe he's coming to the pits at this point. Yes, he is. So Pedro Gomez has just got himself inside that group there. Lewis McGlade, he's dropped down to P8. He's in the pit lane. Seeing who else is out there. Cameron Brewster, he's currently P15. I think he is coming in. He's completed his lap. Unless we get a time in from either Juan Carlos Palacios, Shane Burke, Matthew Allington, or Stephen McCreary, I think we'll have our top 6 from Juan Carlos here. Currently running P19 for Smile. He's coming up to the start-finish. The time is taken from the start-finish line. Over he goes. He does not improve, so he'll be P19 as it currently stands. Shane Burke, he's now currently in P21. He's coming on to this very, in a way, it's a straight. It's not challenging, but it's challenging from a car setup point of view. Tom would not agree, because you've got a course with plenty of fast corners. You want your car setup with plenty of downforce for those, but you'll be a real sitting duck on this straight.
Indeed, I mean, as you're saying about car setup, you kind of want to gear your car to kind of max out at the end of the longest straight. But since it's sort of the longest straight is somewhat too long for this track, if you know what I mean, as Shane Burke just got a bit of a loose moment coming around into the Bahrain section, I'm going to call it now, of turn 15. Yeah, so you kind of want to gear your car, but also you kind of want to kind of keep the gearing sort of equal between kind of the gaps between them, and of course that can also throw out the car in some corners, because you kind of want to also kind of keep your car in sort of a rev range going around corners. So it'll be interesting to see how people have got their car set up, to see if they've gone for top speed or they've gone for corners instead.
Absolutely, and it's a really nice track, this one, to finish on. I mentioned it in my sort of introduction. There is a little bit of everything from the courses we've driven on so far this this inaugural Atlantic Series. Okay, perhaps not so much the ovals, but there's plenty of high speed, there's plenty of low speed. The third sector with the Bahrain section, let's call it. There's a couple of very slow speed corners, a la Fremont in Las Vegas, where we raced a few rounds ago. We've got some some fast and flowing corners, a la the second sector at Sebring, which was our last round. Lots of lovely corners to set your car up for and be a nice challenge. Anyway, with all that being said and done, our Fast 6, who are through to the second phase of qualifying, as it were, is Lars Brugman, Scott Beresford, Borja Milan, Risto Capit, Ruud Heesterbeek, and Pedro Gomez. Those 6 will be going out in around 20 or so seconds' time. And their objective, well, less traffic on the road, just go as quick as possible. And that's top 6, separated by less than a second. Nice and close. That's the closest we've seen up until this point. We've got, at this point, 2 drivers predominantly. We've got Lars Brugman currently in P1. We've got Ruud Heesterbeek currently in P5. They are our drivers' protagonists. We'll focus on those predominantly, as it's a little more clear-cut for us to inform our lovely viewing audience about. But I wouldn't necessarily expect Ruud to be down. Not saying that 5th is far away, but it's certainly not where he's normally been. He's normally certainly been up at the very sharp end.
Indeed, I mean, the last few rounds I've seen him like at the Vegas racing. He was down in around about fifth place for the Fast 6. Yeah, he does need to kind of push a bit now, because he does actually need to win the race to be able to win the championship, and he does also need Lars Brugman not to finish. So I think it might be a bit of a tall order. So I think he might be just taking it a little bit careful and just thinking about enjoying this race so far, and trying to get the most out of it. But
Absolutely.
I'm sure there's going to be a bit in their mind saying he needs to kind of work hard. He needs to really hound the back of Lars Brugman, even get ahead and try and force Lars into a mistake. But the first part of qualifying is all about getting into the Fast 6. Now he can really kind of show his true pace if he can go any quicker and actually challenge for pole position.
Yeah, I completely agree. So it's very much, the ball is very much in Lars's court. To put curse to the commentator on it, he's been driving supremely. It really would require a really bit of bad luck on Lars's behalf to discount him here from the drivers. So we'll wait and see what this evening holds. But what I would suggest, however, as we are now in our Fast 6 and we have our drivers taken to the track to try and put their ultimate fast lap times, is perhaps a lap on board with one of our drivers. And as he's out there, Lars Brugman, currently P1. He's just going through the Bahrain section here, as we're going to call it, through Sector 3. A little bit of undulation there. And Tom, can you talk us through both the build-up to a good qualifying lap and also the lap stop?
I can try to indeed. Right now, Lars is going to be thinking about, you know, keeping his tyres fresh. He doesn't want to wear them out too early, and if he's kind of, he wants to fuel his car for the minimum. And now as he's coming into the final sector, he just wants to kind of build up the heat a little bit in the brakes and the tyres, get them a little bit more grippy. So he comes to the final corner. He's going to need to get a good entry and good exit out on this. Keep his foot flat. He's nailed it. Oh, he's got a bit of oversteer, so that's going to put him off the start of this lap. But he's now coming up to turn 1, which is a big incline into turn 1, which is also going to assist in braking, since the hill's also going to slow him down. Aim for the apex, he's hit that nicely, put the power down not too much. Ooh, he's done that very well. Now into turn 2, which is now eyeing up the S's section, which is a left, right, left, and then a bit of a double right apex one here. Then into yet another left, and then the other right of turn 9. Then turn 10, left-hand kink, can't take it flat, he hits the curb a little bit and gets a bit of a bounce on. Downhill now into the turn 11 hairpin, which leads onto the straight, so he's going to have to brake late, hit the apex and try and get a good exit. He's a bit hesitant on the throttle there, and a bit of understeer I did see. Now, as he comes down the straight, I would have said move a little bit behind, is that a TSA car of Beresford, try and get in the tow a bit, but he's opted to kind of stay on the racing line. Brake at the 150 meter board, down into first gear, hit the apex, missed the anti-cut bump. He's done that perfectly. Now into turn 13. This one's, oh, he's locked up the front left and just run a little bit wide. But he's got the power down lovely. There is a bit of a bump which can cause the back to kick out into turn 15. Ooh, bit of a slide now into the inverse turn 8. Ooh, went over the curb there. That's put him out of line for the rest of the corners. Into the final sector. I think he's been pushing a little bit too hard this lap, but hopefully he can try and salvage something from it. Into the final corner. He's got that nicely set up for another time lap if he needs it.
Indeed, really pushing hard. Tyres clearly going no more, and he didn't actually improve on that one. But a nice quick guide here to the Circuit of Americas, the challenge it imposes on our drivers, and in particular that turn 1, the mass elevation change there. As we have just been informed by cameraman extraordinaire this evening, it is going to be the final lap, given the lap times and things it takes, and the fact that we've only got 1 minute 40 left at this point. So here we go, all on the board, or all out there for our drivers to partake of. Risto Capit has just left the qualifying session, so that'll be him. He won't be able to do any more at this point. So he will be starting, I think it was P5 before he left the server, so he'll be certainly within the top 6. Lars Brugman continuing to run round, he's now on the back straight. Ruud Heasterbeek though, he has put in a cracking lap time, he's got himself up to P2 as it currently stands, just pipping the TSA of Scott Beresford by a few hundredths of a second there. Beresford though on a lap, he's coming down into the 3rd sector, on the brakes nicely there, down for turn 12. Going from 180 plus miles an hour down to 60 in no time at all. Brugman pulling off there, so that's the end of the lap for him. Beresford just running through this series of corners which just do not let up, very nicely on the brakes for turn 16. Very deceptive, plenty of room potentially for a cheeky overtake, cheeky dive bomb if you're feeling lucky. But no need to worry about that in qualifying. He runs around inverse turn 8. Very nicely indeed, on the brakes nicely here for turn 19, and oh, he's run wide and over the anti-cut, so that is the end of that chapter, and he's pulling into the pit lanes. That's a real shame. That was a nice look, which unfortunately has just not gone his way. Just having a look here now, Ruud Heasterbeek coming around the inverse turn 8. Has he got a good lap together? We'll find out in a second. He's now around at turn 19, no issues with the anti-cut there, on the brakes nicely for turn 20, the final turn here. This 5.5 kilometre course, he's got on the power nicely, a little loose as he accelerates now for the start finish line. Does he improve? He does not. He stays currently P2. That lap time just 0.2 of a second slower than his best. So Milan apparently is on a quick lap, so says cameraman extraordinaire. He is just gone into or is in the 1st sector. So Tom, talk us through this one.
We just wanted to talk through Borges' lap.
Yes.
Well, he seems to be keeping it clean so far. I don't know if he's exactly pushing, because he was kind of marginal crossing the start-finish line to start this final lap that will be his. As he's coming down into the hairpin, as a bit of latency there for me. He's something interesting I haven't spotted between a few drivers. Beresford seems to be using a lot more of the steering wheel, if you know what I mean. He's turning the wheel a lot more than any other person. Lars Brugman only using about 90 degrees of lock. Same with Borgia here as he comes down at the end of the straight. Oh, Bax just wanted to kick out, get a bit loose. He's had to be hesitant on the throttle there. Now into turn 13, going around 14, into the tricky braking zone of 15. You don't want to brake too late, otherwise you'll lock the inside front and it'll just take you straight off into the runoff. So I cannot English today. Inverse turn 8, as we've mentioned several times already. Into the final couple of corners now. He's keeping it clean. I don't know if this will progress him up, but it should be enough, I'm hoping. Because he's only 2/10 off Scott Beresford. Will it be enough? And no, it is not. Unfortunately, he was a whole second off his fastest lap there, so that's unfortunate for Borgia, but he will start P4 for the race.
Indeed, so let's run through our, well, we'll certainly get through our top 10, I'd say. We have Lars Brugman on pole. He'll be followed by Ruud Heesterbeek. Scott Beresford will be starting P3. He'll be followed by Borja Milan. Risto Capit will be starting in P5. Pedro Gomez in P6. Reece Gardner will be starting P7. Lewis Brigade in P8. Nico Barkley will be starting P9. And rounding out our top 10 will be Sven de Vries. So there we go. The final qualifying session for Atlantic Series this year. And it is Brugman striking pole position yet again. Ruud Heesterbeek, though, he has pulled out a good lap time right when he needed it. The difference between P1 and second place, 0.3 of a second, which, well, Lars has been looking absolutely dominant on the timings in practice and things in the run-up to this event. A good lap there from Ruud to really put himself in contention, because let's face it, qualifying is one thing, the race is a completely different animal.
Indeed, indeed, and of course, I don't exactly know where pole position is going to start on the grid. I think Lars would want to be on the inside, so you can, you know, keep the inside for turn 1, because that is going to be important, especially if you get pushed out onto the outside of the exit curb.
Yes,
but Ruud Heesterbeek does have that second place position, and he will be ready to challenge Lars right off the line.
Absolutely, and of course, Circuit of Americas being one of the newer tracks in the world in general, it's got a few interesting features, one of which being the run into turn 1 and turn 11 are two predominant sort of braking zones, overtaking zones on the track. Incredibly wide to enable overtaking, so you never know, you might see a few moves done off the line. Certainly the uphill nature of the start here will certainly hurt people who get a poor start, because they just won't have the momentum to carry them up that hill. So there we go. So we'll wait and see. We now are in our warm-up for the race here. It's a single 29-lap race. There's 5.5 kilometre circuit. And, well, you may have noticed, if we've got footage going on from the warm-up, but it's gotten mighty cloudy. And the last time I saw clouds like this, I was at a certain race in Silverstone where the heavens opened. And it is raining. So there we go. There was a forecast chance of it, and has this really put the cat amongst the pigeons? Some thunderstorms, in fact, were forecast for Austin, Texas. And so here we go, our first wet Atlantic Series race. Here we go, this is really going to spice things up.
This is going to be interesting, because the last round of the World GT event, we had rain, unpredicted rain, and it threw quite a lot. It threw some really quick people on the grid off. Now, I wonder if it will do it the same this time. I mean, it looks like it's not that much rain to warrant, you know, the wet weather tyre. But I wonder if anyone's actually practiced, or actually at least kind of attempted to run the different wet weather compounds, as Reece Gardner has actually just spun off, just seeing how wet it is. There is quite a bit of spray being kicked up on the dry tyre. So, you know, at least it's happened now and not in the race. People, they have time to experiment and see and kind of get a feel for what's good for good choice for them. But the track conditions will transfer over into the race start, so this could play into Heesterbeek's hands, or it may not.
It could play into anyone's hands. We'll have to wait and see. So at the moment, the weather, of course, the weather systems here in our Factor 2 are sort of location-based. It's not just sort of wet everywhere. Certainly the back end of the track, you've got turn 11, that long straight all the way down to 12, very grim, very nasty looking. But the start-finish straight, the first sector, positively bright, blue skies in places. So so there we go. I think it would be a game of compromise almost if the weather stays static like this. I've got a feeling it won't. So we'll have to wait and see how our drivers do. And well, these Indy cars, I drove in a few rounds of this year's Atlantic Series. They're incredibly delicate on power in the dry. So add a little bit of moisture into the mix, well, it's going to be a real challenge for our drivers to get their head around. And one I'm very glad I'll have the opportunity to watch from the commentary box. Not sure about you, Tom.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was going to say Mickey Mouse section, but the left, right, left, right, left, right of Sector 1, that's going to be very tricky. I mean, this is going to cause a lot of understeer with this weather. And, you know, we'll be seeing cars go a lot slow. Oh, Lars Brugman just spun round going through that section now. And he is on the dry tyre. If you can excuse me for 1 second, I have some food brought up to me.
Ah, no worries. I mean, so this is, one nice thing the drivers do have to play with, I believe it's still the case that there is no Parc Fermé for Atlantic Series. So you can legitimately play around with your setup at this point and actually try and compromise the car as best possible. Other series, of course, where Parc Fermé is a factor, well, you go into the race with a wet setup and it's raining, well, you're going to do well. But if you go into qualifying with a wet setup, perhaps not so much if it's dry. So I think this is really going to liven things up, and it's really going to make things for our drivers and teams, champions candidates or prospective, or potential, I should say, really going to make things difficult for them. That's what we like to see, a good bit of challenge.
I saw you heard you mentioning, sorry. Oh, Shane Burke just had a bit of a contact there about people's setups. Of course, Parc Fermé is on, so people who have chosen a dry setup are now locked with it.
Ah, so it certainly was the case the last race I did. To be fair, it was an oval in these cars. Parc Fermé was not enforced, so it may be still the case, not sure. But it's certainly, if it is enforced, well, we're going to have a very interesting field of cars with potentially dry setups and a potentially wet circuit. So that will be an interesting one. The very first round of the Atlantic Series was from the Barbers Motorsport Park. That had quite a high attrition rate because of one corner in particular. Who knows, a wet circuit in the Americas might have an even higher attrition rate with cars on the wrong setup. We'll wait and see. But certainly in warm-up, it has really thrown the timings into prospect. Shane Burke has set the fastest time so far. He's 2.5 seconds quicker than Matthias Bogus. Sorry if I got your name wrong there. With David Yunt in P3, all 20 or so seconds slower than the qualifying times, which were done just a few moments ago. So really has moved things around. Our leaders in qualifying, Lars Brugman and Ruud Heestvik, have not completed a lap yet. So I suspect they're probably very diligently having a look at what they can change on the car. If they can change a lot, great. If they can't, well, high pressure's wing. Front wing you'll be able to have a play with. And they're going to be feverishly trying to figure out exactly what they need to tweak to get the best possible car for this race ahead. 29 laps. It's a long distance. It's 5.5 kilometers this circuit. It's quite a long one. And it's going to be, I think, a case of bring the car home for Lars Brugman. That's all he really needs to do to wrap up the drivers. And while we have this bit of time here, we've got 3 minutes to go with the warm-up at this point. Tom, the standings for our teams and drivers is very delicately poised.
Indeed it is. I think we mentioned this earlier, that Lars Brugman is on 280 points, 43 points in front of Ruud Heestvik, and of course a win here is 50, second place is 40. So for Ruud Heestvik to be able to take the championship off Lars Brugman, he would need to win and have Lars Brugman either finish way down the order or not at all. I think the lowest the points go is 10, so I think Lars Brugman would need to DNF for Ruud Heestvik to actually win.
Indeed.
But,
I beg your pardon.
I was going to say, third place in the championship is Pedro Gomez. And I think we also pointed at the Constructors' Championship with Team Proline, Drake and Walk, all within 43 points of taking the title.
It's all very close. Plenty of points to be earned or lost, if you want to look at it like that. So plenty of opportunity for teams and drivers to make a big impression on those two championships here at the final race of this year's Atlantic Series. Risto Capit now in warm-up has gone quicker by a comfortable margin, and I would say that the track is really drying out now, so it may be more of that as a factor. So yeah, times have gone from 2 minutes to 1 minute 50, so there's a definite improvement in track conditions, I'm hasten to say. So evidently the drivers will be enjoying that. It's definitely not sunny though. It's looking a bit grim out.
When Risto Capit's just a spun. No drying line is forming on the track, so I think it's either still raining enough to kind of keep it still damp, or there is quite a lot of water down at the moment. But I'm not seeing anybody on wet weather tyres. I think they're all on slicks. So I think they're just trying to kind of get a feel for what it's going to be like and then make their choice at the start of the race. But as you said earlier, Lars Brugman, he's leading the championship. He doesn't need to kind of... He's got a big gap back. He doesn't need to do anything risky or dangerous. He can basically just take this race as a bit of a joy ride, if you know what I mean, and be a bit careful and just try and enjoy it over actually be more competitive than he needs to be.
Well, the pressure's off in a way. He's done the hard work. He's got himself a very, very comfortable cushion. He just needs to finish the race and the points, and that's the title in the bag for him. But then again, wet weather conditions could really liven things up, put the cat amongst the pigeons, and not allow that to happen easily. So we'll have to wait and see. One thing we should mention, if there is going to be a wet race, well, we have 3 types of tyre available to our drivers. We have the alternates. We'll call them the options from here on in. Those are the red wall tyres. We have the primes, which are the black wall tyres, being a slightly harder compound, therefore not as quick. But then we do have just a plain wet tyre, no intermediate, just a full wet tyre, grooved. And I would hasten to bet that it may be the way to go if there is water, standing water on the track come the race starts. However, wet tyre is a different animal to the dry tyre, different operating temperatures, different operating pressures. And, well, certainly I don't think it's been really wet. I've certainly not seen lots of standing water for our drivers to deal with. Yeah, they might not be able to get that one honed in this final few moments.
Yeah, I thought there was the intermediate tyre as well, not just one wet. So it would kind of explain why everyone's out on slick tyres. But I'm looking at Shane Burke now coming down the straight on, I think it's the racing line, and there's no spray being kicked up. So I assume that the racing line is a lot drier than it is on the outside. So I think we'll be seeing a lot of people starting on the slick, unless the weather does take a turn for the worse between now and the start of the race.
Indeed. Let's remember these are gigantic vacuum cleaners. Lots of downforce generated from the wings and the bodywork, so that drying line will develop quickly. And well, as I certainly found out at my cost in World GT when there's some wet weather, if you stray from that dry line, you can find yourself in a world of hurt very quickly, very icy off the racing line. So warm-up has now completed. Our time has elapsed. Drivers just getting their final few moments to get their eye in with this wet weather condition as it currently stands. A brief reminder, it will be 29 laps, racing laps. There will be a formation lap, and it will be a rolling start. So we will not have to have drivers necessarily worry about a standing start and having to get their cars hooked up in wet conditions. But still, a wet start going up to turn 1, very tricky. It's completely blind. You can't spot the apex. In wet conditions, that could be just as tricky as getting a start right for a standing start, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say I completely forgot about it being a rolling start, but that does put a lot of pressure on Lars Brugman coming out the final corner. He wants to get down the power down as early as possible, but in wet conditions it might actually be his downfall. So I think this kind of Ruud can stay behind, see what Lars does, and then react to what Lars chooses to do. Either accelerate gently or put the power down and just hope for the best.
So we will find out. Our drivers are all coming back into the pits. Our race director this evening is Chris Williams. Thank you, Chris, for that. He is just informing everyone, of course, of the rules and regs before we get into our race this evening, and we will run down our 23-car grid. It's a nice full field here for our final race of drivers for our final race of this Atlantic Series. It's been a cracker. It's really been a little bit of something different here for the GPVWC. Open wheel, but not in the career ladder. I think it's worked well. A nice mix of racetracks and ovals. Something that we haven't seen here at the league. And, well, I've quite enjoyed watching, driving, and being a part of it. How about you, Tom?
I have enjoyed it too. I've enjoyed seeing, how people do with the transition between our Factor 1 and our Factor 2. If fast people on the other series we have at GPVWC, how they perform on this new platform. And, there are some people that have adapted to it well, like Lars Brugman, who has been storming away in this series. But there's also a few people that have really struggled to kind of grasp the new technology used in our Factor 2. And I hope that they understand and they kind of not evolve, but advance with their knowledge and understanding of our Factor 2. And hopefully we should have a good race on our hands.
Indeed. So as R Factor Man calls in for the final time here for the Atlantic Series, we will be gridding up and going to our final race here on the Atlantic Series GPVWC. Everyone's taking their grid slots, getting ready for the formation start, getting themselves ready, making sure they've got all their race fuel and strategy and whatnot sorted out. I believe that we will need to have at least one pit stop for fuel. Tyres may also want to be changed as well. They're pretty quick to change, so you may as well. And we'll wait and see. Nice and dry conditions, no rain. I'm sure the drivers will be very happy with that. So as our lights light up, we begin our formation lap. We are away, and leading us away from the start will be Lars Brugman for Team Proline. Will be followed by Ruud Heespeak for Warp Racing, and Scott Beresford for TSA will be starting in P3. Borja Milan for Scuderia Basilia will be starting in P4, with Risto Capit in the second Warp Racing car starting in P5. Pedro Gomez for Drake Racing will be starting in P6. He'll be followed by the single Hinds Motorsport, driven by Reese Gardner. Lewis McGlade will be driving for Team Proline starting in P8. Nico Barkley, the second Scuderia Basilia, will be starting in P9, and rounding out our top 10 for midnight is Sven de Vries.
11th place is Miguel Reese, hope I got your name right, for Positive Sim Racing. 12th is Roy Schroten for Drake Racing. 13th is that Mateos? Bogus for Simtech Jota Motorsport. Sorry if we are absolutely butchering your names. 14th is David Junt for Smile Power Racing. 15th in the other TSA Racing is Cameron Brewster. 16th is Mark Wicks for Durex Motorsport. 17th, Alexander van der Woude for Positive Sim Racing. 18th, Juan Carlos Palacios for Sim Power Racing. 19th, Paul Joseph for the Mighty Fourth. 20th, Ben Willis for High Speed Racing.
Oh, crash. We've got a crash. Sorry to talk over you. I think that was Matthew Allington. Yes, for YTF1. He's lost his front wing. And he's retired, I think. Or will he be taking the start from the pit lane? We'll see.
I know, because the race, technically the race has begun in our factor, because the way we're kind of fudging the rolling start. So unfortunately, that's Matthew Allington out of the race.
That's a retirement before we've even formally begun. Anyway, just to finish off our grid, we have Shane Burke starting P20, Stephen McCready, in P21, and Juan Carlos Palacios, he's got damage. He doesn't have a front wing or smile. He'll be starting P22. He's recovering back to the pit. So, with all that said and done, Lars Brugman is rounding our drivers round turn 18 on the final for this formation lap. A little bit of water being kicked up, it seems, offline, so there is some water down. Brugman just doing a bit of weaving, backing everyone up. It's quite a fragmented grid because of that moment, but he now rounds turn 20. It is his to decide when to start the race, and he's away. So, Lars Brugman will lead us away here to start our final round of the GPVWC Atlantic Series here at the Circuit in the Americas, and he's got a good start versus Ruud Heespeak behind him, and he's on the brakes nicely down into turn 1. No moves being made. Scott Beresford holding on to P3, being looked at intently by Milan. Scuderia Basilia on P3, P4. Risto Capit's held on P5. A bit of movement though, as our drivers are now making their way through turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. They flow so quickly here in the first sector.
Yeah, I saw Sven de Vries going to turn 1. He's on the outside on the bit of a wet patch, and he had a bit of a sideways moment, so he's down into 10th place in between Nico Barkley and Miguel Reis. But as you're saying, Ruud Heespeak right on the back of Lars Brugman, coming down into the hairpin just before the straight. Ruud Heespeak has taken first place, a lovely manoeuvre on the brakes. But Lars Brugman is now coming back at him on the straight, and seems to be pulling away a little bit. Will Ruud Heespeak have the straight line speed? Will he also duck back in behind Lars Brugman to get a bit of a overspeed? But by the looks of it, Lars has got that, but Ruud Heespeak on the dry line can brake later. Lars has the inside, Ruud on the outside on the wet patch. This is going to be interesting into this corner.
Side by side, our title contenders, space given very nicely. Brugman holding his own on the outside, now the inside, down into turn 16, and nicely defended. Good respectful driving. Here comes Beresford, perhaps wanting to buy into some of this. Sees an opportunity to make his way further up the order, but Heespeak's having none of it. So lovely move there. Nice switch from Ruud up by Brugman. I think he realised that Ruud was right up his inside down into 11. Plotted that one nicely and held it, both of them very nicely through second and third sectors there. So lovely stuff. Nice and feisty, nice and racy off the start here. They are completing their first racing lap. 28 to go. Continues to be Brugman and Heespeak. The gap less than 10 on, or second. Oh, beg your pardon, half a second as they cross the line.
Indeed, we have another retirement. That is Juan Carlos Palacios. I hope I got your name right. Who has retired on the first lap, as you mentioned. He lost his front wing, so he's pulled the car into the garage and called it a day. Okay, so we're just hearing that he probably lost it on his own. So I just hear contact.
Yes. Oh, goodness me, Cameron Brewster for TSA. What on earth has happened there? Goodness me. I'm going to forget a replay of that. Minding his own business, and see the car has just spat him up into the air. That's highly unusual.
He's hit a bit of debris on the track. He hit a tyre and it's just flicked him up into the air. That's from what I see. And,
goodness me. Well, that is highly unusual, but that is the end of the TSA driver's day here on the second lap. I have to see who that was who had the moment beforehand. And
Nico Barkley is out for Scuderia Basilia, probably from the same incident.
Dear. So attrition already. Unfortunately, we've lost a few drivers from it. But while that's been going on, a change for second and third place. Scott Beresford, the other TSA, faring a bit better than his teammate. He has got himself past Ruud Heasterbeek for second place. So we'll have to see what Ruud can do. But as far as Lars is concerned, everything's going quite well. He's holding on to the lead. He's scoring points, and that's all he needs to do.
Indeed. I'm just looking at, because you got Ruud Heasterbeek and Risto Capit, the two walk cars in third and fourth. Lars Brugman in Pro Line, currently leading the race, but his teammate Lewis McGlade currently down in 18th place and without a front wing. So this could actually throw the Constructors' Championship quite a bit, with Walk only being 33 behind Team Pro Line.
It's all to play for. It's a very tasty situation we've got in the team standings, and it could go any way as Nico Barkley has now retired from the race. We mentioned that before, he is now left service. That's the end of the race for him. So as they are now completing lap 3 of the race, moving on to lap 4. Have I got that the wrong way around? I've done it a few times, so it's quite possible. Scott Beresford of the leading group seems to be enjoying himself at the moment. He's obviously not necessarily in the championship hunt. And to that degree, he can risk things. He can perhaps try moves that our championship protagonists cannot, as they are making their way through the very fast Maggots-Beckett's Chapel-style section here in the first sector. Certainly not able, having no trouble, keeping up with our leaders.
Indeed, and as you said, Lars Brugman, he's got everything to lose. I think he might just let Scott Beresford through here, as Beresford pulls out onto the outside of Brugman, coming down into the braking zone. Beresford, Lars is still there on the inside, and he's got it. There's Heasterbeek just having a little bit of a look as well. But Beresford, he wants to kind of move up, but I don't think Lars will quite let him. Heasterbeek around the outside. That's a bit of contact there, but Heasterbeek down the inside into turn 15, and Risto Capit also trying to make a manoeuvre on Scott Beresford, but Beresford's got the inside for turn 17 and 18. As I hear there's contact again down the order. I'm just going to have a quick look.
Yeah, so a bit muscular from Heasterbeek, but he got the job done, and I would hasten to add that if there wasn't water down on the track, I suspect that Scott would have been able to hang on to that one, but because it was just a little damp offline, he wasn't able to, and by the looks of it, Heasterbeek giving the place back, perhaps. Or was that just a poor exit? Hard to say, but Beresford taking the place back, I would suspect the way it was done, that was Heasterbeek giving the spot back. So very gentlemanly. Beresford regains P2. While all that's been happening, Lars Brugman being able to build a gap up to 1.6 seconds to Beresford, and we continue to have the brace of walk racing cars following them, Heasterbeek from Capita, P3 and P4.
Indeed, I found the source of the contact, and it was Stefan McCready. He has lost his front wing and is entering the pits now. But the top 5 all covered by 2.5 seconds. Then there's about a 3-second gap back to Rhys Gardner is 6th, who has had a bit of a wiggle, and Sven de Vries has just managed to take advantage of that. And yeah, that's unfortunate for Rhys Gardner. He seemed comfortable in 6th place, but he just had a bit of a wiggle coming through turn 8 and 9. And Sven de Vries has capitalised upon that and is now probably going to be trying to catch Borja Milan in 5th place.
Indeed, and just to correct myself, mistake, Sven driving for Satellite this evening and has done all year, where I got midnight from. No idea. There you are, Sven. Nice move, and sometimes you want to know, you've got to take those opportunities, and he's taken it well, and he's got himself up the order. But it's still a long way to go. It's a 5.5 kilometre circuit. We've got at least 25 more laps. That's a long way to go in this one, so it's not all over the race. I'm sure he'll be able to claw it back. He's got both Drake cars, Pedro Gomez and Roy Stroke behind him, having a good dice, so he's got a bit of a breathing space. So he can really put his foot down, try and gain some places. I see Pedro Gomez going well wide out of turn 16, just about holding on to it into P9, and he's got a real gaggle of cars here. Still, I think there was the Durex car going off.
Sorry, Lars Brugman's got a bad exit out of the final turn, and Scott Beresford is challenging for the lead.
Right, let's
coming up
keep
into
an
turn
eye on
1.
Good spot, good spot. Beresford up the inside here for turn 1. Just has to control it on the brakes, and it is done. So Scott Beresford from TSA leads here on lap 4 of 29. Brugman, though, immediately coming back. There won't be much opportunity through here unless there's a mistake from the TSA driver. But if you just fill the mirrors sometimes, that's all you need to do. That will force that mistake and allow you back past.
Indeed, now Ruud Heestebeek's right on the back of Lars Brugman. Of course, as we've mentioned several times already, that Ruud needs to get past Lars and will need to get past Scott as well. So if Scott can start creating a bit of a gap back to the two, then that will really ruin Heestebeek's chances of a championship win.
Absolutely, and we've got a bit of traffic ahead, and if I'm not very much mistaken, which there's a strong possibility of me being mistaken, no it is indeed Lewis McGlade, the other team Pro Line, recovering. He's in P19, but he's ahead of this battle, so he may become strategic, you never know. But Beresford, now he's got himself ahead, he's got himself a half-second gap, but here comes Brugman up the inside. No, he thinks better of it. Down into turn 12, I think quite wisely so, and not anywhere close enough to get that one into the books. So it continues to be Beresford leading, Brugman in P2, he's to be P3.
With Risto Capit, Borja Milan just right behind, so any mistake from the leading three could actually cost them more places than just one. So they've got to be very careful on how they go about doing things. But Sven de Vries hasn't pulled out a gap to Rhys Gardner. Rhys Gardner is actually catching back up after his little mistake earlier. But the gap between 5th and 6th, Borja Milan and Sven de Vries is currently at around 4 seconds.
There we go. And is it, unless I'm very much mistaken, it's looking a bit grayer out there in places. Who's been doing a rain dance? I've got a feeling we may have some rain on the way. We'll wait and see. I'm sure as now various drivers will be shaking their fists at me. As Brugman definitely getting closer to the back of the TSA car through turn 1, carrying a bit more momentum there through that very tricky turn 1. It's blind on the way in. You don't know where the apex is. You've got to have absolute faith that you've got the car stopped and rolling in the right places. They've navigated that one. Brugman a little faster, but this first sector, very highly reminiscent of Maggots, Beckett's Chapel section from Silverstone. A great sequence of corners. Not really one which gives opportunity to overtake. There's Lewis McGlade there. Lap traffic getting well out of the way.
Indeed, it seems to be single file through that since you're always changing direction. So I don't think that we'll see any side-by-side movements. And if we do, then they're going to be going very slowly to give each other enough space to make it around the corner safely.
Absolutely. So we'll have to hope that continues. Everyone being very, very good so far, giving each other space. Great bit of battle going on earlier. Brugman needs to be through this very tight, twisty second section. And to me, it looks like Brugman in that Team Pro Line car really got that car working well on the brakes. Every single corner where there's some serious deceleration, being turn 1 and that corner there, turn 12, really pulling a little bit of time into Scott Beresford. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. He's got that car stopping on a signal, we'll have to wait and see. But we do have a bit of a breakaway now. It is our top 3, Beresford, Brugman and Heestebeek. A bit of a gap now between those 3 and Risto Capit running at P4.
Oh, Heestebeek on the outside of Lars Brugman, going down into the penultimate corner. Oh, Lars had the inside, but Ruud, if he can brake a little bit later, oh no, Lars has just got that hooked up nicely. Can Ruud kind of go for the switchback? No, Lars has also got the traction out of the corner, so that's unfortunate for Ruud. That looked like it was going to be a spectacular manoeuvre, but he's still behind Lars at the moment.
All the way around the outsiders, it's a late move up the inside, very opportunistic and done. Lovely stuff from Ruud Heestebeek. That's exactly what he needs to be doing. He's got himself ahead of Lars Brugman. His next target is 1.5 seconds up the road while those two continue to dice through the third sector. Scott Beresford leads. Here comes Heestebeek. What can he do? Oh, a mistake though. A little mistake, ran a little wide, but he's been able to hold on to second place. So here we go. It's all on you here, Ruud. What can you do with a bit of free air?
Oh, Lars was getting a bit of oversteer from, just coming out of turn 6, I believe, or turn 7. They've pulled a bit of a gap back to Risto Capit, which... Lars! Nicely held. But I was just about to say, they pulled a bit of a gap back to Capit, which probably didn't help Heestebeek, because as Ruud made that pass on Lars, he would have liked his teammates to kind of at least be close to pressure Lars into making, you know, a bit of a mistake or having to defend, which would have given Ruud a little bit more breathing room than he's got now. But I think they're starting to catch Beresford, but let's hope they start battling. Just let Beresford slowly sneak away.
Yeah, well, I mean, so this is all goodness me, Brugman, very loose, as they would say in, of course, in the States, with oversteer. Putting the power down, that maybe is a sign that perhaps the tyres are going through a bit of a phase, a bit too hot, just down a bit, or just a bit of a heavy right foot, one of the two. Anyway, what it has allowed is Ruud Heasterbeek some breathing room. It's given him about half a second's worth of gap. Beresford, though, now he's got some free air and not having to watch his mirrors, he's got the gap up to 2 seconds, so that's half a second he's gained so far this lap. Heasterbeek, though, pretty as a picture from turn 20, car stopped, rolling through that apex on the power nice and early. He comes across the start and finish line, and the gap is down to 1.3 seconds. That's a 7/10 gain just in a couple of corners. So he is clearly seeing the opportunity he has ahead of him. He's got his main championship rival behind him. Easterbeek here is doing absolutely everything he has to at this point to get himself in the way. As we hear, we've got a yellow flag in sector 2. Quite sure what caused that. Creedy is out in sector 2, and Pedro Gomez. Pedro Gomez will trade. He was dicing at a moment, done very tasty back. Oh, yes, he has. Just keeping an eye. Yeah, Borja Milan here getting by him for P4. So here we go. It's starting to get dicey. This is interesting. Got a few cars. Clearly, as the race evolves, the cars are evolving. Tires coming in, going off. Who knows? Cars getting lighter as they burn the fuel. A few mistakes being made, but yeah, yellow flag it would appear would be for Pedro Gomez. He had a moment there.
Capit's coming back on Borja.
As here comes Capit on Borja along this 1 kilometre straight. Won't get too many better opportunities. Capit ahead, as the timing sign says. Who's later on the brakes? It's Capit, and he holds it around the outside. Lovely stuff. He's retaken P4. Can he close the deal though through this following couple corners?
I think Borja might have the. Ooh, he got very close to the rear of Capit there, but he had to like kind of lift off the throttle and dab the brake a bit, which has given Risto a bit of breathing room. But a big gap back now between Lars Brugman and Risto Capit, around 3 to 4 seconds. So the top three have got quite a bit of breathing room if they do make a little bit of a mistake to not lose too many positions.
Indeed. So as they've been circulating, top three have been getting closer, ever so slightly closer now. I think they've all sort of settled down for a moment. As we've completed racing lap 8, moved on to racing lap number 9. The gap between Easterbeek and Beresford for the lead is just 0.9 of a second. That's down 4/10 over the last lap. And the gap between Easterbeek and Brugman is 0.7 now, so that's down for about a second and a half. So as we currently are, as it's getting very grey and grim again, you can see it perhaps on the camera angle as these three are running through the first sector. Really are racing well at this point. Brugman marginally quicker that last time around. Oh, Beresford! Oh, Beresford has spun! Goodness me, what happened there then? Running through that sector.
He just seemed to lose it by himself there.
Runs through the very, very, in the grand scheme of things, slow turn number 8. And unfortunately, I would say probably the car got perhaps a little hooked on the curb or something there, and it spun him round. So Easterbeek leads.
It could have been like some water residue on the curb, which just put him round, because he had 2 wheels in the curb in the car.
Yeah, he's going defensive here.
Yep, defensive now from Risto Capit. As Tom was mentioning, he had a bit of a gap, so if that something were to happen, he'd be able to at least hold on to third. That has happened. Capit, though, not able to make the move down into turn 12 here. So a real pity there for Scott, driving supremely to that point, but it has just left now. Mano a mano, Lars Brugman, Ruud Heasterbeek, our 2 championship driver protagonists alone on track. No cars around them, 2/10 the gap between them. So here we go. What can Ruud do? What can Lars do? We will wait and see over the coming
Brugman,
laps.
gone a bit wide there.
And Ruud Heasterbeek, you know, he's got 50% of what he needs to happen for him to win. He's currently leading the race, which is what he needs. He could actually go on to win this, but he does need Lars Brugman. As he goes wide and hits the anti-cut, Lars. He managed to hold on to that and not lose too much. As he hit the, I think he's starting to struggle now. Lars has made 2 mistakes consecutively. God, he does not look comfortable in that car now. Maybe a bit the pressure's starting to affect him now, but Ruud, he's got a bit of a gap now, 0.8 of a second. He just needs Lars to start making more and more mistakes.
The stakes are high. We may not be in Las Vegas for this round, but the gamble can be very real if you try and push that a little bit too much. You can either win it all or lose it all. Thankfully, these two keeping it on the island here and now. Beresford has cemented his place in P3. He's pulling a bit of a gap now between himself and Risto Capit. Borja Milan, of course, Maria Basilia, he's holding on to P5 and he's starting to pressure the back of the walk racing car of Capit. So Bruce continues his good form, good run here. He's in P6. Reece Gardner in P7 for Hint Motorsport. Roy Schoten for Drake, he is in P8. We've got a tasty little battle here developing for P8, 9 and 10. This group of Schroep, Yunt and Bosgers. Hope we're getting that one correct. Apologies if not. They've been together fighting for the whole race so far. So keep an eye on that one. Currently is Yunt, Schroep from Yunt and Bosgers. The gap between both that group is 1.5 seconds with 3 cars very close together. And that rounds out top 10. So plenty of cars close together, plenty of interesting battles to partake. Now cast my eyes forward once again to our leading pair. It continues to be Easterbeek and Brugman. And it seems that Brugman really does enjoy the slow section here.
Easterbeek well wide.
Easterbeek's gone well wide indeed. He's held on to the lead. A little bit of tarmac, concrete, whatnot on the exit there. If that was a gravel trap, that would be done and dusted. But he's held on to that one and held on to the lead for now. But that's what Brugman will want to see.
Oh, Easterbeek's gone wide. He's hit the anti-cut coming out the penultimate
you're a bit behind there, Tom.
Yeah, Tom,
Oh, sorry.
I'm
sorry. Yes, I was. I don't know why. I do apologise for that.
Well, that's okay, because you saw a moment which could have cost Easterbeek a lot, but he was able to hold on to it. So Brugman now right on the back of the walk racing car. They're running through the very fast and very flowing turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Very tricky. Radius is getting tighter and tighter. Undulation as you get to the end of this sector as well. Definitely it looks to me that Brugman has got a better car in the slow speed. Easterbeek slightly better in the mid speed, about even at the high end. So very well matched, these two. The gap between them, between Brugman and Beresford, P3, 7 seconds, or beg your pardon, 6.5 seconds. So these two enjoying a race of their own. They are the pace of the field. They are really pulling away from everyone else at this point.
Lars is looking down the inside. Lars is looking down the inside into turn 12. He's been good on the brakes all day. Oh, he's got it stopped. He's hit the apex. Lovely. He's got the traction out, and he might be able to cover Rude here, but Rude's on the inside for turn 13 and 14. Can he start? Oh, he seems to leave a car's width for Lars, very gentlemanly-like, but Lars has got the inside yet again. Oh, and Lars has got it. Lars has got it going into the inverse turn 8.
Lovely stuff, lovely move. Clearly thought through, couple corners ahead. He knew he'd be on the outside for a few bends, but if he could hold it, you can have the inside for the bend there where he signed that one, got it in the books. So Brugman retakes the lead, Easterbeek. Now the following car, he has some of the pressure off in a way. He can now force the issue with Brugman. And goodness me, Easterbeek got a terrific drive there off turn 20. Could he be doing something down into turn 1? Wait and see, Brugman goes defensive, Easterbeek late on the brakes. Can he go around the outside of turn 1? That'd be brave, and he cannot. Brugman covering the line beautifully there. And,
But he seems to have better traction out of turn 1 into turn 2, and he's got that done. He's somehow managed to make a little bit of a mistake turn to his advantage, and he's now leading into the S's. And he's got a little bit of a gap, a bit of breathing space back to Lars now. But both of them have been struggling these last few laps with getting. Ooh, Lars. That's where we saw Beresford go off earlier, and Lars is just seems to be struggling a bit now.
Yeah, with traction, these cars incredibly dependent on their traction. Found that out personally going around the streets of Las Vegas a few rounds ago. Traction is a real big part of these cars. Clearly, as the race is evolving, the conditions, it's not particularly bright out there. It's pretty grim. And that is a factor in some of the mistakes that we've seen, unfortunately, from a few of our drivers. But Easterbeek, as far as comebacks go, that was pretty much textbook. Okay, he didn't get it done into the very next corner, but that's how you respond to your rivals. You immediately demonstrate what you can do in response to your mistake. Well, he got the lead back in superb fashion. So Easterbeek leads. Brugman continues to be second. Beresford rounding out our podium as it stands.
Easterbeek made a little bit of went a little bit wide coming out of turn 15. But I am seeing that Brugman, he's getting the tighter line, but he's also locking up his inside tyres, which could be causing, bit of a wiggle there, causing tyre wear, especially, oversteer moments like that. So I wonder how Lars's tyres will be doing at the moment. We're getting close to the pit stop phase. We're on lap 13 out of 29, so we'd expect either next lap or the lap after, then coming in to change the tyres if they do need to. But yeah, it seems to be kind of tit for tat, if you know what I mean, between these two. You know, one person makes a mistake, the other capitalises, and then they go and make a mistake, and vice versa, sort of thing. So interesting racing so far. Let's see if it will keep going to the end of the race.
Indeed, I do indeed know what you're saying, and a factor that R-Factor really does bring into the sim racing world. You know, you alluded to it before our race began. You know, there is so much technology and whatnot going on. These cars are running. These are the latest version of the Dallara DW12s that ISI have provided, running the contact patch model on the tyres, where physically the amount of rubber in contact with the track is the amount of grip you get. Of course, depending on how you've got your tyre surface working, of course, in terms of temperatures and pressures. So, you know, making those tyres work for you is really very important. So we've got our first pitter of the race. That's Ben Willis, currently P15, getting, well, he is in pit lane, so we'll see what he swaps himself onto. But you know, if you use and abuse the tyres, they are not going to last as long. If you really slide the car around, it is going to hurt you. And technique and driving style all become a big factor at that point. So Willis now leaving his pit box. A set of the alternate, the option tyres, stickier tyres for him, and I suspect some fuel, probably to get him to the end of the race. We are approaching the midpoint, so we'll wait and see who else makes the move. Lars is in. So we've seen it a few times. The undercut is real. Brugman has played his hand. So here we go. Can he jump Easterbeek here?
Beresford's in as well.
Tyres, as Beresford into the pits as well. So we've got P2 and P3 in the pit lane. Lars nicely into his box, up onto the jacks. Fuel going in, fresh set of tyres, going on the car. Back down, fuel going in, and he's away. He lights up his rear tyres, gets them toasty, warm and working, and he is away. He will be coming out, by the looks of it, into a bit of free air. It's going to be close though. He'll be coming up P5. He'll have the battle behind him, but he's got himself to the corner, to the apex ahead there. So that's worked for him. He's ahead of the traffic. Scott Beresford though will have 3 cars to deal with as he leaves the pit lane. Ideal for him.
Yes, we haven't reached the halfway stage yet, so Lars will have to do an extra few laps on this new set of tyres that he has. I wonder if that will come into play towards the end of the race with Rude still going around the track, coming down into turn 12, on the turn 11, 12 straight at the moment, with Risto Capit 9 seconds behind, so a bit of breathing room there.
Indeed, it's walk 1-2 as it currently stands. We'll have to see if Rude is happy to carry on. Perhaps try and eke out some of the tyre life that he may have. You never know, maybe better on tyres, physically could go longer, and well, that will enable a few different strategy calls. We'll wait and see. But Lars on the stickier rubber, he's already pulling a nice gap to the cars behind him. And well, the time is his. If he can make the undercut work, he will jump Easterbeek for the lead. Fair to say those two are incredibly close though. So Easterbeek just rounding turn 19. As I speak, and he's not heading for the pit lane. He's going to do another lap, so he's quite happy on his tyres. Thank you very much. He's on a different strategy. We'll have to see if anyone else follows into the pits. Here comes Capit for walk. So may we have a bit of team tactics going on. We will wait and see.
Borja Milan
a
also in.
good lap. Yeah, Borja Milan as well in Scuderia Basilia. So here we go. Strategy time here at the Atlantic Series. It's the finale, and let's of course not forget, we've been talking about the drivers a lot, but this could have team ramifications as well. So there we go. Lars Brugman has taken second place back in the pit stop phase. Roy Schroep up into P3 for Drake. Matthias Boskus, sorry, I keep getting your name wrong here. He's up into P4, Yunt up into P5. Capit coming out now. He's going to be facing Scott Beresford. Contact between the two on the apex. Beresford, though, has taken the place, so the undercut there has worked for him. He's got ahead of Capit.
I was going to say, it's a surprise that Rude didn't pit in, because Capit was actually faster on that previous lap through Sector 2. He managed to catch half a second up on Rude, so either Capit had an amazing lap or Rude starting to struggle on these tyres, so we expect to see him in this lap at least.
So I'm just keep casting my eye here over the lap times. Rude Easterbeek setting purple Sector 1 on this lap so far. Interestingly enough, actually, Rude Easterbeek has got a faster lap at this point in time versus Lars Brugman, a full 6/10 quicker. And I believe he's also done the fastest lap of the race, yeah, 1:45.3, so very quick. Last time around, Lars Brugman, admittedly, coming out of the pit lane, was 2 seconds slower than Ruud Easterbeek. So we'll see what this next lap is like.
Ruud
This will be
going
the
round
teller.
again. Ruud is going round again, and Lars is actually
Ben
quicker.
Willis spun. Yeah, Lars is quicker so far on this lap. Just looking at live timings, he is 3/10 quicker in sector 2, and he is just a fraction slower in sector 1. So it's a 3/10 game so far. Fastest lap of the race though by Ruud Easterbeek, a 1:45.3. Lars Brugman though coming across the start finish line any moment now. This will be the telling mark. Who is going to have the fastest lap here? Over the start finish line he goes.
I would expect it to be Lars, since he gained another 0.2 of a second in the final sector.
It is indeed. It's 0.6 to gain. Brugman, if he can carry that kind of pace up, well, Ruud, when he pits, he's going to have to really pull something out of the hat there. Lars really making these new tyres work for him, as we've got Junt in the pits. He's now coming out. Just keep an eye out for traffic on the start finish straight. None for him, so he'll be coming out from P11. We've now got another retirement. It's Shane Burke. I didn't quite see what happened to him
He
there.
pulled into the garage. He went into his pit box and then just retired from the race. So probably either issues going on, personal life issues, or just not happy with the car, or damage sustained early on that he couldn't deal with anymore. We won't find out today, unfortunately. But
That's a shame. That's a shame. But there we go. That is the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So one more. Not going to be finishing this one. Our number of cars which are still running and riding will be reduced to 17. Or beg your pardon, 18 with that. We have lost 5 cars so far in this race. So a bit of a high attrition rate as here comes Easterbeek into the pits. I fear this may be a slightly foregone conclusion in terms of the pit stop, but I'm quite happy to be proved wrong in this instance. He's done a few more laps. He won't need as much fuel. Fuel is more of the factor here rather than the tyres. So into the box goes Easterbeek. Up onto the tracks, getting a fresh set of tyres. Another set of the red wall alternate tyres, and he's away. Nice clean getaway, no tyre spin up. Where is Brugman?
He's curling over the start finish line now. It's going to be close between. I think Lars has got it. Yes, Lars has got jumped Ruud Easterbeek. Easterbeek stayed out a little bit too long on that stint and is now, I'd like to say, a good second and a bit back from Lars Brugman, as we have Matthias Bogus and Roy Schroten into the pits now.
Indeed, they are now taking their stops. So here we go. Here will be the interesting question. So that stop has worked beautifully for Brugman. He's definitely going to have a healthy advantage now over Easterbeek. But Easterbeek, one will have got tyres were a little bit fresher by a couple of laps, and that can make all the difference. And also, he will have, well, I expect they'll both have fuel to get to the finish, but Ruud may be able to run, a little more aggressively because he's got that tyre advantage. So we'll see what he can do. And certainly as they're running now down into turn 11, certainly the gap visually seems to have come down ever so slightly. But we'll keep an eye on the gap. It's 2.7 as they ran through the first sector. Following this pit stop phase, what can Easterbeek do?
And Easterbeek proved, whilst staying out longer, that it's Alexander van der Velde. He's in the wall nose first. He's lost his front wing. I'm going to have a quick replay to see what happened there. He did what Beresford did. He just lost it on the turn 8 curb, and unfortunately went onto the grass and just slightly tapped the tyre barrier, but that was enough to make him lose his front wing.
Oh dear, what a pity. What a pity. These cars are incredibly fragile if you hit them in the right place. Alexander pointing that out the hard way. Yeah, just a little bit of power on the curb there is what that did to him. So that's a pity, but he's not out of it. He can get a new nose, no issue. Carry on. You never know, we might have some rain or God only knows what else to really liven this one up. But what I can say with certainty, with 16 racing laps now in the book, is Brugman continues to lead. Gap 2.6 seconds, stabilised there between Easterbeek and Brugman through the third sector. Let's see what happens here. We've got our protagonists P1 and P2, and certainly as far as Brugman is concerned, he's doing everything he needs to.
Indeed, indeed. I mean, if he can manage the gap, then if he does have worse tyre wear than Ruud Easterbeek, then he should be able to kind of at least have a bit of a good buffer zone for towards the end of the race. But as I was saying before, Easterbeek proved on his first stint that he can still make the tyres work well on worn tyres, so that could play into his advantage if he can slowly creep up on Lars. Now he's gained a few tenths of a second in that sector. He could slowly creep up and just get within like a good second zone, then towards the end of the race he could actually be quicker than Lars and actually fight for the win.
Indeed, it's getting hazy. It's getting hazy. I'm just going to bring the haze watch. It certainly is not looking particularly pleasant out there. No beautiful blue Texan skies for us this evening. But our drivers continue to circulate here on lap 17, I believe we're on. I always get this wrong with our formation. Lap of 29.
Lap 18. Lap 18 of
Lap 18,
29.
is it? Right,
Yes.
there we go. Lap 18 it is then. So, so there we are. 11 to go. Not many. The clock is ticking. The laps are counting down. Alexander Van der Woud left the pit lane, I see, having got his nose replaced. He's at P15. He's going to turn 1, so he's recovering well. Yeah, let's have a quick rundown while we are where we are. So Brugman leads from Easterbeek, Beresford, making the undercut work, got himself ahead of Risto Capit. He's up to P3, Risto Capit P4 with Borja Milan in P5. Reece Gardner, the Hint Motorsport, in P6. Van der Vries follows him. Roy Stroke or Drake is right, actually on the gearbox here of Sven de Vries. They're finding over P7, P8. Then we have Tess Boxu, or who's he? Let's see. Look here. He is running in P9 for Simtech Jota Sport, and Dan Yunt is rounding out our top 10. So, and that's another battle. They are both together on track as well. So, some developing scraps, and our drivers continue to circulate, getting a bit brighter here on the start-finish straight up.
I think Ruud is 1.1 seconds behind Lars. So I think Lars might have had a bit of a mistake, or either Ruud is on fire at the moment. I don't know if he's got the fastest lap. No, he doesn't.
Lars does by
but
2 tenths.
He had the fastest first. He had the fastest first sector, pulling 6/10 out of Brugman.
Indeed, just hooking the car up, and well, he's doing everything he needs to. Absolute tyres now coming in, pressure's coming in, and that gap, as I'm sure you can see, much closer than it was a few laps ago. So here we go, Ruud feeling racing. He knows what he needs to do. He needs to win this one. And, well, he's going about it the right way, keeping himself in contention. Pedro Gomez into the pits from P14. Down a place or two, I would suspect, as he will now get the tyres and fuel he'll need to get to the end of this one. But yes, he's to be gapped down to 6 of a second as this lap has continued. These two rounding turn 19, coming into turn 20. It was Blade back on traffic ahead of this pair. As they round the final corner, Easterbeek again just looks a bit better on traction out of that final corner, and the gap as they cross the start-finish line down to 0.4 of a second.
Oh, as Pedro Gomez coming out of the pits, getting in the way now of Lars Brugman and Ruud Easterbeek, working for helping Easterbeek there close right up. But this is going to be interesting in the later on in the lap. As Sven de Vries unfortunately has just retired.
Oh.
I'm going to try and get a look back on what that was. He's missing his front and rear wing. I think he might be a bit too far back for me to see, but he's on the long straight, so there might have been contact there. I'm afraid I don't think I'm going to see it.
So here from Camman Extraordinaire. Hope you'll be seeing that on the replay. A bit of latency we hear, which is a real pity there for Sven, having a good fight as he now starts to pull down the order. Yes, indeed. Goodness me, yes, the replay very on. Yeah, just seeing it on the replay. I'm actually watching the broadcast to see this one, and yeah, it looks like he's just weirdly gone into the back of the freight car ahead, and that's him done. So that's a real pity there for Sven, as he will now not finish this one. Easterbeek continues to slowly make his way onto the back of Lars Brugman. The gap now down to 0.4 of a second. Oh, we're catching an eye of that replay. Everyone to P13 has been lapped at this point by our leaders, such as the pace of our leading pair so far through this one. We are on lap 20 of 29 as our leaders are making their way around the inverse turn 8. Haven't thought of that in a little while. Can't really make too many inroads through there unless there's a mistake, but round turn 19 and down into 20 one more time. Let's see. Easterbeek, I think he's getting the car stopped better. He's carrying more speed through the apex, and he's getting the car on the gas a little early, and he's right on the back, suffering in here onto the back of the Team Proline car. Can there be a move done onto turn 1? Brugman goes defensive. Easterbeek goes around the outside. Oh, Brugman locking up the rear axle. A little bit of a handbrake turn, and it works for him. He holds onto the place.
That was sort of like a Jensen Button maneuver in 2009, where he actually purposely got oversteer to put off the other cars around him. So that oversteer moment seemed to work for Lars Brugman there. He's managed to put off Ruud Easterbeek and keep him behind. But Easterbeek definitely is the faster car here. As you mentioned, he seems to have like better traction and better turning, whereas Lars seems to be better on the brakes, which will definitely help at the end of the long straight that they're coming onto now.
Indeed. So as they run through turn 11, again, Eastpeak's carrying some more speed, and it's visually beautiful. Just me. I'm not doing very well with the English now, but here we go. They're on the back straight, 1 kilometre of slipstreaming action between these two. Very even. Very even. No obvious differences in wing level. Brugman on the brakes, covers the line, gives Eastpeak no option as they run through 12. Now as we go into the Bahrain section, as Thomas so acquainted it, so we will carry on with that. Brugman covers the line, holds the place. Eastpeak on the brakes there, in particular down into turn 16 this time around. Just gaining ever so slightly, just filling the mirrors of that Proline car. Brugman is driving just to say, hey, I'm here, don't make a mistake, ready to pounce.
We've seen a few times around the last couple of turns that both Eastpeak and Brugman, more Eastpeak, have run wide and made a few mistakes. None this time round, as we have Stefan McCready up ahead, close to being lapped for a second time. Hopefully there is no trouble getting past him. But Eastpeak still on the back of Lars. Lars is still doing what he needs to, and but actually doesn't actually need to be ahead of Ruud. He just needs to kind of be close to him or actually finish the race. So I think this will be more about not honour, but bragging rights, winning the last round of the season. So yeah, Lars is having quite a good race at the moment. Ruud right on the back, closer and getting closer and closer, pulling back a bit now, going down into turn 11, but hopefully he should be close enough on the straight to at least make Lars think a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we'll wait and see. Of course, we're all racers at heart. We all want to win everything, but in the grand scheme of things, Brugman's got the nice position where he doesn't necessarily have to take it easy. So here we come. Eastpeak right in the slipstream, down into the braking zone, 100 metres, and goodness me, is there contact? Not sure if there was, but what I will say is they are still pointing them both the right way as they run through 12. Eastpeak has the inside for 13, and that's one in the books again. So they trade places one more time. Here comes Brugman. He has a little look. You've got a few different lines you can run through turn 15 and 16, but Eastpeak has it covered, and he takes the lead once again here at 22 on 29.
Yep, that Lars did actually touch Ruud a little bit, which caused him into put him into that little bit of a slide. But ooh, Lars getting a bit wide there, as I mentioned last lap, that they have been going wide there and just clipping the anti-cut, which probably made him lose a little bit of speed. Scott Beresford is down in 4th place. He's lost the position to Risto Capit.
Good spot. Didn't see when that one occurred, but it happened more than 20 seconds ago. Say that much. That's our replay time. So Capit continues to hold on to that P3. Beresford is a little wide there going for turn 20, and that's not going to help him try and get a move done immediately on the walk driver. Speaking of walk drivers, Eastpeak, now that he has clear air ahead of him and can just drive his own race, 0.8 of a second as they run through the first sector. The advantage is pulled on Lars Brugman. Lars, I don't think he'll be too fussed though. He just needs to finish the race at the points, pretty much, to wrap up the championship. But of course, we all want to win races. I mentioned this just a moment ago, so let's see what Lars will do as he's now got all of the car ahead of him that he needs to be.
Indeed, I'm just thinking about the Constructors' Championship, because Ruud Eastpeak is ahead of Lars Brugman, and he's got Risto Capit right behind. So Lars is going to get 40 points, and between Ruud and Risto, they're going to get 85, I'd like to say.
Right.
But Lewis McGlade in 16th. I don't know how many points McGlade would get for Proline where he is. I know that finishing 20th, I think, would get you 10. I don't know where finishing 16th would be. I don't know if it would actually be enough. It might just be, since they've got a 33 gap back.
Sorry, Brugman. Sorry to jump in there, just watching Brugman going through the exit at turn 16. I've seen actually a few times run off onto what can only be described as AstroTurf, and that time the car bit. The car did not want to go onto the AstroTurf, and a little bit of a spin up, but well caught. But that is just going to give Eastpeak even more time to hold on to as he rounds turn 20. The gap as he crosses the start-finish line now to complete lap 23, start lap 24, has given him a 2.5 second gap, that single little mistake. So Eastpeak, that's what he needs to do. He needs to keep lapping and scoring big points here. Has to finish.
Yep, I'm actually just thinking about the Constructors now. I think it will be enough for Team Proline to win the championship or retain the lead in the championship. it might just be enough because they've got a big enough gap back that Risto, unfortunately, is not. Well, I think he is just about filling, but it all relies on where Lewis Midglade finishes now. He's currently down in 16th. He's 2 laps down, but if he keeps going, if he manages to bring the car home, then it could secure the constructors' title for Team Proline.
Indeed. So there you go. It doesn't matter where you are on track. If you are on track and scoring points, you are contributing to the rich tapestry, which is this very first inaugural GPVWC Atlantic Series. It's really going to go down to the wire as, oh dear, Miguel Reyes, I see, has just retired from the race. Positive Sim Racing and, yeah, very unlucky. I think he just dropped it going onto the AstroTurf there into turn 13 and 14. He's rolled backwards. By the looks of it, he's in gear. I can't hear the engine, so I wonder if he stalled that one. So a real pity. That's another car out of the race. And critically, Lewis Midglade, although a lap down on Reyes there, that'll be another place. And as we were just mentioning, that could have constructors' ramifications. So another thing to go correct there. Well, for Team Proline, that's all they need.
Yeah, I'm just looking now. 15th. If Lewis Midglade finishes 15th, he will get 15 points for the team, which, if my math is correct, will be enough. So keep going, Lewis. You're doing a fantastic job for the team. He's had that incident on the, I think it was the first or formation lap, but he managed to keep going. He hasn't let it phase him, and he's doing a wonderful job for Team Proline at the moment.
So it's a team game, and he's doing the team very well there. Now, following on from my mass amazement around in mid-Ohio, where I realised that R02 actually figures out and renders the tyre blistering on the tyres, I'm now just having a quick glance at our various drivers and who's got what on their tyres. And interestingly, just comparing the tyres of Ruud Heesterbeek and Lars Brugman, might not be able to come up on the broadcast, but I'm hoping that it will. You can see quite distinctly that Ruud Heesterbeek does not have any real blistering. Look at Lars Brugman, a few laps older, and you can see a very distinct line starting to build on the front tyres there on the Team Proline car. That may just be a difference in setup, a difference in attack level, but oh goodness me, as Brugman gets it, that inside left tyre locked up going down into 12. There you go. There's certainly, I'd say, a bit more tyre wear on that front axle of that Team Proline car. But it doesn't matter. He's in second place and he's got a sensible gap, so he can manage that potentially. Roy Schroep in the pits for Drade. Looks like a fresh set of tyres for him. Ben Willis as well. Ben Willis ahead of Roy Schroep. Out of the pit lane, physically on road. Schroep, though, is in P10, so he will be passing him shortly, I'm sure. As David Yunt into the pits, interestingly, and he's crabbing by the looks of it. So is that
he has no rear wing.
No rear wing, so there you go. Didn't spot that on the cameras on the track, but yes indeed, missing a rear wing for the Smile Power driver. He's got that repaired though, but time he'll be losing.
Indeed, I don't think Lewis Midglade will be close enough to gain another position. So Junt might be safe. The next car behind him is Ben Willis, who is, I believe, just entered the second sector. So Junt has got some time to get his car repaired and get back out going.
Indeed so. With that damage being repaired, we are on lap 26. Am I correct on that, Tom? You're better on the numbers than I am.
I don't quite know. I'm
24? Oh goodness.
I think it's 25 out of 29, 26 out of 30 as we see it on our display.
As we see it on our display. Right, there we go. So we are entering the closing phases of this race. And that is just run through our top flyers as it currently stands. We have leading the race Ruud Heesterbeek. 4.3 seconds is the gap between him and Lars Brugman. Lars running in P2. Risto Capet is in P3 further 12, 13 seconds back. Scott Beresford for TSA is in P4. Rounding out our top 5 is Borja Milan and Scuderia Basilia. Our leading 5 haven't really changed much as the race has gone on. It's always been one of those 5 in amongst it. It's interesting though, as the race has gone on, the gap really starting to open here between Heesterbeek and Brugman, and the gap continuing to open between our leading pair and the rest of the top 5 as the race has gone on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at David Junt, and he has come out the pits just ahead of Ben Willis, so he manages to keep that 13th position after his incident that he has had. Just looking down, Reece Gardner, we were talking about him in just before the Fast 6, how he was close to getting in. He's now in 6th position, so he's managed to keep the car on track and managed to get well, if he finishes the race in that position, some very good points for Hinds Motorsport in the solo car.
Indeed, an independent team, as the Atlantic Series allows, and it's a nice twist on the usual GPVWC fare. So nice to see Hinds Motorsport here, partaking of the first Atlantic Series, and yes, some good points on the hypothetical table. I'll stop saying things, however.
Sorry, Pedro Gomez is going very slowly down in 12th place, very, very slowly. He doesn't seem to have any damage unless he's letting people lap him. I think he might be, but he is very slow indeed going around the first sector.
He's had a moment. Just did a quick run on the replay. He's run through turn 1, put a bit too much power down, and he's just spun the car around and he's hit the wall. Now, didn't look hard enough to perhaps do any significant damage, but you never know if there's a bit of crabbing or whatever else. Certainly this first sector and how quick it is, I don't think you'd really want to push that hard. But what I will say is that definitely will take a bit of life out of the tyres, and perhaps just going slowly, getting the tyre temperature down, maybe the objective there. So a pity there for Pedro. He is down there, was in P12. He is in P12, but that's lost a load of time and a load of places.
Indeed, I'm trying to have a look for the closest battle. It must be between. Oh, here we go. Paul Joseph and Roy Schroten, I'd like to say.
Oh yes, P9 and P10.
Yep.
Yep, just 5/10 of a second between those two across the start finish line last time around. Schroten or Drake making his way past David Young, recovering there from the moment he had earlier, getting his rear wing replaced. As Schroten makes his way through the apex of turn 1, Paul Joseph is not that far behind. The gap, funnily enough, I mentioned it, has gone up to 2 seconds. So, so 2 seconds, still pretty close though in the grand scheme of things after a number of laps. We are on the second to last lap, as I'm very much mistaken. He's to be continuing to lead the gap up to almost 6 seconds between him and Lars Brugman, but that's all Brugman needs to do. He just needs to bring the car home.
Indeed he does. He's got a good 15-second gap back to Risto Capit, who's got a 2-second gap back to Beresford. I think Beresford might slowly be creeping up on Risto Capit.
Oh,
but with
no, sorry, I just saw a car off. That might have been Young just recovering. I think he may have had a moment. Just let the traffic by and on he went. So, so yes, just a moment there for Young.
Actually, Ben Willis was behind Yunt, because Yunt came out in 13th place. Now Willis has managed to get past Yunt, and Yunt is now an extra lap down. So I wonder if there's been more issues with David Yunt there. Don't exactly know. I think it might be a bit too far back to actually get a replay on.
Yeah, it looks like he had a moment, and it just so happens that I think Willis got ahead of him, and the leaders lapped him at the same time. So I don't think it was too much. Obviously, a spin is not what you want to be having in the closing phases of the race. A little more pressure to add to the melting pot, but he's recovered and he's on his.
Yeah, as you said, spin. Reece Gardner had quite a bit of an oversteering moment.
Oh, no.
No, he's fine. He's fine coming out of turn 9, turn 10. So he's all fine. He's still in 6th place. He's got a 9-second gap back to Mateusz Bogus. Sorry, we are really bad with the
pronunciations. I'm afraid this evening.
Yes.
There we go. He's in P7. Mark Wicks in P8. Roy Schroten in P9, and rounding out our top 10 used to be Paul Joseph. So plenty of cars still circulating. Everyone up to P10 have been lapped, and it is the very final lap of the very first GPVWC Atlantic Series. Our leader is Ruud Heasterbeek. He is making his way for the final time through Sector 1, bossing the flowing and continual curves, which inspired by the Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel section of Silverstone, as he now runs through the very tricky undulation here through turns 8 and 9, a 90-degree turn left there at turn 9 as he now runs down the hill for the final time down towards turn 11. On the brakes at the 100-metre board, he's got a car ahead, but I don't think it will prove too much of a factor. He runs through that very tight turn 11. It's very long.
Sorry, Risto Capit's going very slow. I think he's low on fuel because Scott Beresford's passed him, and Borja Milan is right on the back of him. Risto Capit might have underfueled his car now. I mean, yeah, he's gone wide, and this should let Borja straight through. Yes, so Risto Capit now down to 5th place.
He is. He's riding in 6th gear, so he's trying to get the car home. This is important for constructor standings more than anything else. He has to finish the race to score some points. So while that drama is happening, Heasterbeek continues to lead. He has left turn 16 for the final time, running through the inverse turn 8. We can only call it that one more time, and we have done. For the final time, he's got 2 more to do. Turn 19, he has now navigated. He's now running towards turn 20, and with this, he has done everything he needed to. He has won in superb style. the final race here of the Atlantic Series here from the Circuit of the Americas. But as it stands, Lars Brugman will, all things being equal and no issues with penalties, win the drivers' standings here. The drivers' championship, the very first Atlantic Series drivers' champion, Lars Brugman. We'll have to tally up how things happen with everyone else, but Brugman now spinning the car around, sending the car into a pirouette. As Risto Capit's still running around, he's currently P5, dropping all sorts of time and places. We'll have to see if this has any implication for the constructors.
It will do, because Risto Capit, it was going to be marginal with him finishing third. Him down now in fifth, I think he might have lost too many points for Walk Racing, and especially if Lewis McGlade has finished in 15th, so he will be classified. He will get those 15 points for the team, which might have just secured Team Proline getting the Constructors' Championship.
While we very frantically track out the calculators and break out the spreadsheets, let's run through our finishing positions. So Ruud Heasterbeek wins for Walk Racing. Lars Brugman has come home in P2, and rounding out our podium, a great drive for TSA racing driver Scott Beresford. Borja Milan has taken P4. Risto Capit came home in the end of P5. Reece Gardner in P6. Matthias Buggs came home in P7. Mark Wicks for Durex in P8, with Roy Schoep in P9. Paul Joseph rounding out the top 10. Alexander van der Waald for Positive Sim Racing has come home P11. Pedro Gomez for Dre came home P12. Ben Willis for High Speed Motorsports came home P13. David Yunt will finish P14. Lewis McGlade, as we mentioned, P15. And our final car, who's just crossing the start-finish line now, is Stefan McQuarrie, finishing in P16.
I've just done the maths, and I believe Team Proline have won the Constructors' Championship before. This is before any penalties are put out, so provisionally have won the Constructors' Championship by 7 points.
There we go. So all provisional to, of course, any indiscretions. Not that I saw any. To there, and it's been confirmed by our race director. Ruud has won the race. We know that, but Lars has won the drivers, and well, by our calculation, Team Proline have won the constructors. So a clean sweep for the Team Proline team there. Teams and drivers and constructors in one season. Not an easy thing to do, but they've done it, and congratulations to them.
As did you go down the remaining?
I did, yes. Everyone who has finished has been spoken. Those who did not finish, we'll call those out. We have Miguel Reis, did not finish. He was joined by Sven de Vries, Shane Burke, Cameron Brewster, Nico Barkley, Juan Carlos Palacios, and Matthew Allington. So a group of non-finishers there, but not as many as we have seen in some rounds. And there we go. A very dynamic end to the Atlantic Series. Rain livened things up in the warm-up. None came, though, in the race. It did threaten. And, well, Team Proline have navigated that well. But let's not take anything away from Ruud Heasterbeek. He was clearly the man on a form around this 5.5-kilometre track. And that is that one in the books. He's won this one in a good fashion.
Indeed, it was a great close racing between Lars Brugman and Ruud Heasterbeek. Very enjoyable. It did take up most of the broadcast, unfortunately. We didn't get to see many of the other battles going on down the field. But, you know, I think it was a great finale for the Atlantic Series, and it's been a great season so far, or season overall.
Indeed. And, well, hopefully we'll get some drivers into the interview. I imagine that a few drivers will be a bit busy celebrating, which is completely fair. But you know, had the privilege of driving this Atlantic Series, both of us, and it's been a real breath of fresh air, both being on R-Factor 2, being a very different style of open-wheel car, and just being on ovals and road courses. I very much enjoyed it. Did you?
I did enjoy it, yes. I mean, the ovals not so much, because they seem to fly past and you know, also be a bit hectic with one person making a mistake and taking out people who are probably innocent and just trying to get on with their race. But yeah, it's been interesting. It's been a whole all US tracks season, so series. So that's been interesting to see tracks that I've never seen before, like the Vegas circuit that I think we both managed to drive round for TSA racing. So thank you for that opportunity as well. But yeah, it's been very enjoyable, very entertaining as well, and hopefully greater things will come for the Atlantic Series in the future.
Absolutely, and it is at this point we always of course thank the league, the admins, for all their incredible work to keep the league running. But also, let's not forget the team bosses, the drivers, the livery makers, all these people in the background who you don't tend to think of, but they're all there playing their part to make these championships what they are. But that being said and done, very pleased to say that we are joined by second place here at the Circuit of the Americas, our Drivers' Championship provisionally here in the Atlantic Series, and also one of the drivers who has won the Constructors for Team Proline, Lars Brugman. A massive congratulations, sir, on winning the championship here, the very first Atlantic Series, and a great race for you here, a very, very tricky Circuit of the Americas.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a very hard race with Rude. It was incredibly close at times, and but yeah, the season has just been incredible overall with some great fights, and yeah, really enjoyed it.
Obviously, winning the championship is going to be a pretty big highlight, but was there any particular battle or track or anything which was a real highlight for you in this series?
Probably this one with Rude. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun to race like this. And, yeah, just great fun to be so close with your main rival, I guess.
Yeah, and it was great to watch as well, because it was exactly how we want to see our racing done. Hard, fair as well. Saw some stunning racing between both yourself and Rude. Plenty of space given, overtakes being done where I didn't think they'd be possible through the sort of tight and twisty 13, 14, 15, 16. It's been great to watch. So, Tom, unless you have any questions for Lars, just want to say thank you very much. Again, congratulations on winning the championships for the drivers and the constructors, and thank you very much for putting on such a great show for us all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can I just ask one question, if I may?
Of course.
Firstly, congratulations, as we mentioned, for winning the championship in such a great style as well, with your multiple wins and just being where you need to be for the entire season. But we did mention and see in the later stages of the race that your tyres seem to be much worse off than Rude's. Were you struggling with tyre wear throughout the race?
Yeah, it's been quite a problem since the car got updated to the newer physics. I haven't been able to get the tire wear nailed down. So on a qualifying lap, my setup is really, really fast. But in race pace, I can't quite get the tires, keep them alive, so to say.
There you go. Well, Lars, again, thank you very much for joining. Thank you for that insight, and again, congratulations. Thank you very much for joining. Enjoy the celebrations. So, with that being said, we're now also joined by another driver. Pleased to say, had a very good race, came home in P6. We've got Reese Gardner with us. So, Reese, congratulations, P6, great result for yourself and the team. And as we were saying to Lars just a moment ago, not an easy race to drive that one. We had a bit of weather as well just before the race started. Really going to challenge the drivers. How did you find it out there?
I found it pretty tough, actually. The whole starting on a damp track thing was definitely quite a challenge, and I had a bit of a challenge getting past Pedro Gomez earlier on in the race because I saw he was on Inters, so and that ended up not being the right course to take. It was the right course to start on slicks, but yeah, it was a very tough race. But I just tried to keep my nose out of trouble, try and just pressure rivals into mistakes where I could, and just make sure I brought the car home. And sixth place, very good result.
Absolutely, and it's always good, of course, to round out the season on a high. I asked Lars this question. I'll ask you as well. Is there any particular highlights of the series that you've had over the course of the year? And well, hopefully we'll have an Atlantic Series next year. Do you look forward to take part in it again?
Well, highlights for this season definitely this race and Fremont, because they were my highest results. I got a P4 at Fremont, so that's easily my best result at GPVWC outside of Le Mans in 2013 or 2014, I think. But yeah, those were definitely the highlights of my season, and I don't know. This year, my participation in Atlantic Series was very much a last-minute sort of affair. I didn't actually make a commitment on doing it until I think a few days before the first race. So I don't know. It depends. I really enjoyed driving in this series, and I guess we'll see when we see. Sorry for the non-answer.
Well, no, not at all, not at all. I mean, so I was saying this to Tom a little while ago. You know, it's a very different challenge, these Indy cars, to anything else here at the league. And it's been interesting. You know, the adaptation you'd need to go from a road course to an oval and back, and well, with the weather and these very tricky cars to drive. It's been very interesting to see which drivers have been really be able to grab the challenge by the horns and really make something of it. So, Reese, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much for participating and being out there. It's been a pleasure to watch you drive. Thank you very much for joining us in the interview, and we'll hopefully see you next year.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. And with that, unfortunately, that does bring us to an end of the Atlantic Series, and you know, a very hard fought, very challenging championship. One in very good style by Team Proline and Lars. And Tom, I very much enjoyed watching it. How about you?
I really have enjoyed watching it. I will say now, apologies for having a few rounds where there haven't been broadcasts. We have had like other commitments and a few technical issues as well, so apologies on that. But the ones that we have watched and had the pleasure of watching and viewing and commentating on, it has been absolutely, amazing to watch. How people adapt to this new platform and adapt to the Indy cars. I mean, you said earlier about they've got immense grip, but also they got a lot of not traction, but the rear likes to slip when putting the power down. So that's been interesting to see how people have managed to handle that. And of course, the first race being really entertaining with the amount of retirements we had just through one corner alone. So I've really enjoyed it, and I hope next season is just as enjoyable, if not more so.
Indeed. So it's been a journey, and it's one that we have now come to the end of. So I will restate, thank you very much to all of those behind the scenes at the league, the admins, those who are working very hard to make these races happen. My thanks to all the cameramen. We've had Cam Brewster on cameras. We've had Joshua this evening. We've had others as well. My thanks to Tom for joining me in the commentary box. A pleasure as always. And again, just a massive thank you to all the teams, the drivers, the livery makers, I don't know, the people on the pit wall, if you've so got them, all sorts of people coming together to making not only this league what it is, but also the racing as well. And I will state, I haven't mentioned it at all during the broadcast to this point, it may be the end of this championship, but there are plenty of others going on at the league. We've got World GT coming up in 2 weeks' time from the Circuit of the Americas. It's the final round of that championship. But we also have the Career Ladder, a whole series of open wheel racing to be had. And those races will be happening next week. Or my sins, I can't remember from where. So, so there we go. All sorts of racing to partake. Head on over to gpvwc.com if you are interested in joining in for either the rest of this season or partaking of the next. So with that, again, my thanks to Tom and Joshua for joining me in broadcasting this one, and my thanks go to you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series as much as we have to be able to bring it to you. We'll see you next time out on the racetrack.